Happy today. I am William Brown from imwilliambrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, one-word conversations. Now, this is the part where I introduce the sponsor of the show, I Am William Brown. I Am William Brown is a place where you can be yourself and live your life. And I have a number of items there, like the U cards or the Beyond the Shell book series and the U journal. So as I do, I introduce the U cards. So I will set the intention for the show. And the I am card is I am purpose. The you are card is you are brave. And the quote card is be you, the world will adjust. So with that in mind, I am going to now introduce our word for this conversation. The word is stress. So when I first saw this word, it was interesting. There was all the negative things that came, but there's a number of other things that came up when I saw it. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask my friend to come in, and then we will have a conversation.
Hello.
Good morning. Hey,
Morning.
how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited, and now I got a little bit of those flutters going around now that we actually began. Isn't it funny how that starts up?
Absolutely. I have in my we're getting off track here, but I have a theater background too, and so I can remember like right before I walk on the stage, it was like right there at the at the curtain. It's like the feeling of, okay, you can still run, right? It's like
we can turn around right now,
right? You got to go out there, and it's like, I guess we're doing this, right?
Right.
So that's what happens when the light comes on. So this is the moment where I ask my guests to introduce themselves, however it feels comfortable to them.
Yeah. Well, hi, I'm Teague M. Parker. I just go by Teague usually. And I am a number of things because I am in theater, which basically means that you are always going to be doing a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So I am an actor. I'm a playwright. I am an improviser. I produce theater, and I have my own personal business that I try and create free theater and live events for the Washington community. And included in all of that, what I do a lot of the time is I'm a teaching artist, and I teach what I call improv for wellness, which is all focused on using foundational improv tools and mindsets to help people get tools for self-reflection and creative recovery to try and build self-worth. So just using all of this fun stuff that I've learned over the years to really cultivate ownership of self and realize that we are enough in the world. We don't have to try so hard. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, there's it's like I felt like I knew that, and I learned something new there. So that was great. So how does the word stress land for you?
It's interesting to think about stress right now, right? In the pandemic and all of that stuff, because I think everybody is experiencing stress in vastly different ways than what they had before. So for me right now, I don't have the stresses of constantly needing to work, constantly having to be certain places. So there's a lot of stress relief that has come with this time that also feels stressful because, other people are stressed.
Right.
So now what I'm thinking with stress is just how it can just be a thing, that it's not necessarily good or bad. It is just a thing that occurs that we can get awareness of and choose to use it to our advantage or our disadvantage at times.
Right. I totally get that. I mean, I think before all of this, everything, my new awareness of my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stress was like this pressure, it was like taking over. I just, it was pulling and pushing me at the same time. And now there was this feeling of this this stretch, this elongated, really causing me to live a bigger life. And it's this really, it's just really interesting that I think, like you were saying, it's like the flow. It just feels like I've been under so much pressure for so long and doing things the way, I was supposed to do it. And the things that I was, you're a business owner, you should be doing this, or you're doing, whatever, you're a dad, you're supposed to do this, all these supposed tos and shoulds in my life that was causing the stress. But now there's this relief of this, and it's causing this pulling. It's really odd. It's really, I don't think I like embrace it, but it feels, there is this like a flow to it more than this pressure that I've had before.
Yeah, I think flow is a great way to put it, because all of us are in a group shift. Everybody's foundation has changed, has shifted, and has become something new. So now we can't go to what we know as stressful, what we know as how things are supposed to be, because none of those things apply anymore.
Right.
So I feel like for the first time, perhaps in many people's lives, they are defining for themselves what life is. And that also means what is stressful now. Because I'm sure that, in my life, the things that used to be stressful were like, I have to drive everywhere because I'm a freelance teaching artist, right? So I have to spend hours driving. I have to think about, well, if I commit to working at this one place, will that stop me from doing a show in a few months? And now that all of that stuff isn't there, I start to realize, like, none of that stuff really matters to me when I just have time for myself.
Right.
Like, oh, those are choices and opportunities, not necessarily structures and things that have to be.
Right. It was something I shared a number of times on this show that has come up, that the pandemic has caused me to look at a lot of things that I was calling reasons that were really excuses, right? Because once I was like, oh yeah, I have on the back of wall there, it's like, no excuses, it's like, yeah, I don't have no excuses in my life, but I would give you all type of reasons why I wasn't doing shit, right?
Yeah.
And then right. It's just, it just really caused me to just really look at it and say, yeah, this is not a reason. This is an excuse. And I think it's the same thing with stress. It's like, yeah, this ain't stress. This is, this is a choice, right? This is, I got more control of this. Why was I sweating over this? We got like worldwide pandemic type of thing.
Yeah.
And this is nothing, right?
And like the double thing of, we can't control how we feel. We can't control our emotions. So these times when we do get stressed, like, that's, the feeling is out of our control. Right. So then all of a sudden we also try to be like, you know what? I'm not stressed. I can do this. We try to brute force our way through these things, and we kind of lie to ourselves and say, I don't feel this. I'm not stressed. And then the body doesn't know what to do with that, because it clearly is going through this, but the mind is directly telling it, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not. And then this huge battle just occurs inside of us.
Right. There is something I mentioned again before. It's kind of, I'm like turning into that guy that everything is like, hey, remember the last show that I've done? This is what it's
That's
like.
how I feel with all my friends. So the difference is you're recorded. You got evidence.
Right. It's but it's like, I said the main reason why I believe that I have caused I have the solution to all of the struggles that are in the world. And it's that we just need improv training.
Yeah.
Because improv, and so like I'm just putting us out there so you can like agree with me or kind of say, okay, William, you're like off base here. But I think the success of improv is accepting reality and building on to it. And I think the reason why we have so much trauma and suffering in our lives is because we deny reality, and then we try to make a change. And it's like you can't start with a denial. Most of the times when you deny something in improv, it bombs, right? It just stops, right?
Yeah.
But we're trying to cause something or give life to something that we have not recognized. We have not accepted the reality of it. And so the more that we're able to really accept reality and say, hey, this is what it is, and I'm going to go with it, or I'm going to change it. That's the power that I have, and then I can move from there. And I think then the stressors in our life just go away.
Yeah, I would completely agree with the stuff that you're touching on, right? That improv has an amazing improv when it's taught well, right? When it isn't like we're trying to be witty, we're trying to be funny, we're trying to accomplish all these things. Really at the core, improv is just reacting honestly in the moment. And like you said, accepting reality and building on it. And when we apply those things to our life, we take a lot of the stressors off. We take a lot of pressures off ourselves. So when we do wake up depressed some days, we're not battling that reality. We're saying, this is true. And something else is also true at the same time. Like when I teach my improv for wellness stuff, one of the exercises we do is we play yes and basically by ourselves. So we start by saying like we start with something that's true. There's a ring light on me. Then I say, yes, there's a ring light on me. And I add to it. Yes, there's a ring light and the light's a little bright. Yes, the light is bright and I feel jitters in my chest. Yes, and you keep going down and down and you start to see that all of these things exist at the same time. That it is okay to feel what we would call negative emotions or really excited or anything and build from it. There's nothing that stops us if we accept the reality as it is, like you were saying.
Right. Well, how do you think, and so this is one of those questions that I have in my head and that I think that somebody, smarter than me or, should like know all the answers instead of something that I need to find for myself. But why do you think it's so easy for us to deny reality and not be present to what we're really dealing with that causes so much pain?
I think we're trained to. We're dulled. We're everything in life. Let me rephrase that. There aren't a lot of lessons that are explicitly given to us that ask us to do self-reflection, that ask us to think about things and to be critical about it. So we get to see a lot of what society deems as like, this is the right way, this is the wrong way. And then we kind of get lost in that. If we don't, if we're not trained to be like, oh, like life doesn't have to be this way at any time, then you kind of always accept the base standard that has been applied. So all of these times where we're like, we're trying to deny reality are because we think it is supposed to be that way. If to accomplish great things in business, in the world and all that stuff, you just got to fake it till you make it. You just got to push and work as hard as you can.
Right.
That's a choice. That's a choice that you can do, and it's a tool at your disposal. But at the end of the day, you know, now I'm repeating myself to anybody that's heard me before.
Right.
Everything we do is self-expression,
Right.
and everything we do is creative. So nothing that we do is meant to be judged by ourselves. If we build that self-worth and we understand what we want and what we want to move towards, then we start to not deny reality. We accept the reality that we're building for ourselves. Right. I feel like I went all around that question, but
I think, you know, I got it, and I can, you know, and I hate to, you know, like I said, it's not a conspiracy theorist or something like that when you say we're conditioned or we're trained or something, but it is just like, there's a lot of unlearning that it feels like we have to do to really show up as ourselves, right? You know, you know, it's just like, why were we kind of like conditioned not to truly be ourselves? And, you know, it's like, it's, you know, here's the conspiracy. Someone was aware how powerful I am, right? Or how powerful we are. So it's like, oh yeah, they can't, like, you know, be themselves, because then, you know, there'll be all these amazing things happen. So, I mean, it can happen. We can have these outliers, right? But we can't have like the collective really, you know, really have this awareness of self. And I think that is, you know, the conversation that I have in my coaching of be yourself and live your life, with emphasis on your. It is more about, it's that self-discovery. It's just really thinking, what do I want? Who am I? And what am I willing to live? And how am I willing to show up in my life? And, you know, and I say, I don't know if you see on the one side of me, it's like, you know, I'm not my labels, you know, but there is another part of that some people have a harder time getting, and that I try to embrace for myself, that I am my labels and I'm not my labels at the same time.
Right.
And the more that I am able to take on whatever label that I want to take on, but let it go, so I can show up as myself whenever I'm needed. You know, I mean, because, you know, the actor, the entrepreneur, the dad, all those different labels for me have their role, have their purpose, and I need to show up in that way. But beyond that is William, you know, and there are some situations, and many situations, that need William to show up. And it's like, the more I am willing and okay to not be less than that, or to be just my labels, then the stresses of my life just goes away. Because I think for me, it is more about being stressed about, will they accept William? Will they accept, you know, me? Who what I call an actionable awareness of myself. Will whoever I'm having a conversation with, whoever I'm working with, or, you know, really can understand, this is what I'm dealing with right now, and this is how I'm connecting with you. And there's not this expectation that, hey, I'm going to need you to be the entrepreneur right now. I'm going to need you to be, you know, this. I'm going to need you to be happy. I'm going to need you, you know, I'm going to need all those things that we put pressures on each other's and stresses on people to show up, not the way we are, or what we feel, or what we, you know, to how we woke up, but how people need us to, type of thing. And, and like I said, that causes more of the stress in my life than anything.
Yeah, I completely get that. Like, a lot of my life has kind of been spent having a lot of those same feelings of, all right, like, I believe in who I am and all this stuff, but also, like, I need to heighten this aspect of me. I need to be more of a professional if I get into a rehearsal room. I need to behave in X, Y, and Z to accomplish this thing, right? All of these, like you said, labels that we start putting on ourselves, instead of trusting that all of that is inherently in us all the time.
Right.
That there's nothing to ever draw out. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing that we have to worry about in that sense. It's more of the logic brain that's telling us, like, hey, you have to prove that you're this. You have to say that you're that. You have to do these things so that people understand. And it makes sense that we do that. We're trying to protect ourselves in these moments, consciously or unconsciously. And at some point, those kind of, I don't know if defense mechanism is the best word for it, but it's the word that comes to my head. Yeah, like those served us at some point in our life. Those helped us out, and like sometimes we can beat that side of ourselves up because it's still with us, when really it's just, okay, we go back, we identify that this habit, this secondary impulse, used to help us and protect us, and now we don't need it anymore. But it's like you said, a lot of unlearning has to go into that, and a lot of like just time and attention on a granular level has to occur, because we all want these changes to happen overnight. We all want to have ownership over who we are and stop stressing and worrying, when really that never goes away. It's just how much it impedes us, I think, fizzles, and what we think when that occurs starts to change.
Right. There is, no, I really got it. There's two things that came out when you were speaking. The, I have a U journal, right? And, each morning it's like 30 days, with you, right? So it's like 15 minutes a day to kind of take time for yourself. And how I use it is, or I invite people to use it, is that I wake up, I do it with my cards, right? So I'll pick up a card, and like the one card that I pick, if I pick an I am card, right? It's like, I am purpose. And so however I respond to that lets me know who woke up. Right?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I am
an
purpose.
Immediate identifier.
Right. And so it's like, so I have the response that, okay, let's go. And then, the next question is, that, okay, if you can take this on, write out some things that you're going to do, how you're going to kind of show up. If not, see why or what label is present that is keeping you from accepting the reality that you are purpose, right? And so it is that, because there were so many days, I'm going to say, before I had my journal, that journal is that I would wake up in a mood, had no idea where it was coming from or why or anything like that, but I would act as if everything was fine, and then like go through my day like kind of like there's something off, but I just need to kind of just go to work. And there wasn't that moment of just asking myself, what's going on? Right? Who is, what is this? And I think it also goes to the two books that I wrote of, Beyond the Shell. The first one, the subtitle was, or is, Finding You Beyond What Protects You, is the first one, right? And
Yeah.
so it, goes through that process of just saying, hey, here's my shell, here's the things that people see me as, and I'm going to go beyond that. I'm going to go all beyond those things. And the second book was The Journey to Stay You. And what I've learned, and I think it was something that that you said within that, is that we can have this awareness of ourselves, but then we kind of interact with people and then we forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we get stressed out about it. It's like, well, is that okay that I'm this way? All this kind of stuff, right? It's like, dude, that's who you are. It's
Right.
like, and it's like, so it's like the journey, the kind of like, it's not even darts and arrows and, because there's a lot of, I don't know about you, there's a lot of loving, are lovely people that are part of my life that have no idea who I am. I mean, they just, because they say things like, oh, I wish you would just do this and everything like that. And I'll just tell them, it's like, that's not what I want. That's not who I am. And it's like, I love you, but no, right? And it's like, so it's not just, it would be so much easier if like only the jerks like didn't know you, right? And it's like, so you can just say, yeah, that's but it's like managing and not getting stressed out about the people who you think know you or should know you, but because of how they see themselves, how they see you, or not see you, and it's just it's like you try to be yourself and not stress out about it, at the same time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's that self-worth aspect is like one of the hardest things to unlearn the habits you don't need to bring in the habits you do need. Like you talking about the journal that you do, like I do a similar thing. I do stuff from The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And one of the things that she talks about is morning pages. So every morning, three pages of stream of consciousness writing. And it does get you closer to clarity, because it doesn't matter what you write, you're going to write what's on your mind, and that reveals something.
Right.
And I think that you make a really good point when you start to see like what's keeping me from this label, what's propelling me towards this label, like those doubts and desires. I just did a workshop with some friends yesterday that I hosted that was kind of like exploring that idea that doubts and desires are part of the same coin. Usually a doubt will hide the desire you want, and a desire can hide the doubt that you have on it. So being able to, one, just identify that, and then kind of go deeper and ask ourselves like, okay, what is this doubt hiding? What is this stress that I have about this label or this thing I want to do trying to get me away from? Like where I get fascinated by just all the tricks our logic brain can do to us, because it wants us to stay in the familiar. And it's way less stressful in the familiar, even if life sucks. Even if life sucks, we know that it sucks and we understand how it sucks. So trying to get out of that, like the brain doesn't want to go towards something it doesn't understand.
I recently had a conversation about community. We did a week of conversations about community, but within one of the conversations, we're talking about the default communities, and like our, people that we went to school with, or, our family, just like, oh, that's my community. But there is this level of this disconnect within those defaults, because they're not supporting you, and they're kind of, but you think they should, I think I should have friends at school, right? I think, and when I don't, I'm like stressing out about that. But there was one thing that came up, and it was talking and she was talking about being familiar with staying in a community that doesn't serve you because you've kind of figured out these coping skills, right? You got the weapons, you got the tools, you got all these things for this group, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going anywhere else because these will work here, right? Type of thing. And it's like, no, there's, you can be somewhere else, right? There's so many other things, right?
Or even having the broadening the identity of what could be a part of that group, right? I know for myself, I have lots of friends from high school that I'm blessed to stay connected with. And I've also lost a lot of those friends too. But with some of the people that I've stayed with for a long time, I made the assumption that I couldn't talk about some things with them, or I couldn't do some things with them, or I couldn't bring up certain ideas or something.
Right.
And then the moment I finally started trying to test that was when those people were like, we'd love to have these talks. We'd love to explore these ideas. We'd love to support you in this way. And realizing sometimes we get stressed that a group's not going to do something when we've never even proposed the idea. We've already made the assumption that this group can't do this. And that's the same thing of the brain trying to keep it in that same category when really some of those communities, not all, might be able to evolve and have a little more inside of them.
Right. There's a lot of I guess for me, it just feels like there's a lot of the stresses that I have on my life. Like I think that came up earlier, it's like self-imposed. It is a way to kind of, protect myself. It's like almost from myself, right? And it's like, who's in charge here, right?
Who's stabbing me in the back? It's me.
Right. I need to speak to the manager, right? It's like, it's you, fool, right?
Oh boy.
It is just really crazy. And it's like, we want, like I said, I'll speak for myself. I want to be fully expressed, but then I have this, this thing saying that, well, you can't be fully expressed. Well, who said I can't? Well, I just said I can't. So it's just like, okay, well, stop saying it.
Right.
It's like, who told you? It's like,
We're really good at committing. It's funny. Some of us think we're not good at committing to ourselves, but if you go to just foundational level, we actually are really good at it because we constantly tell ourselves not to do something.
Right.
We're spending energy by saying, don't do this, be afraid of that, all of these things. We're committing to ourselves in a way that isn't serving us, but we're still committing to ourselves.
Right.
And then that breaks the brain a little bit.
Right. It's like, the emoji, right? Right. It's just like, okay, all right. It's like, now what are we going to do? It's like, is the heart in control now? And it's like, it's like,
what's going on?
It's like, it's like take a nap, it's like, that's why, the brain, it's like, we just want to take a nap. So, it can keep you from doing anything crazy. Right.
Right. Just knock you out for a second.
Right. Oh boy. I think we could talk about this for hours because there is such a liberation of really looking at who is running the show. Who is really calling the shots? Is it you or is it your labels? Is it you or your understanding of the situation? And it's like, am I denying something that is causing stress in my life? And I think there are real dangers that I'm like, I love the fact that my brain wants to keep me alive.
Yeah.
But the more that I recognize that my brain, in some cases, wants to keep me in a small life, right? A self-contained life, then I need to decide if I'm going to live that type of life or the life that's calling me, my life that's stretching me, or stressing that I show up in, right?
Yeah.
And to go from there. So is there anything that's coming up for you within this conversation that you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah, I think kind of expanding on what you just said, like it's always, we're so used to seeing stresses and then being able, like, I know what that is. I know what I'm stressed about. I da 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 da. But
Right.
I think it's really worth taking a second to, however you want to do it, journaling, free writing, talking out loud, all that stuff, to identify some of those things in your life and see what the root of it is.
Mm.
Is the stressful thing like I'm nervous for this test that's coming up? Or
Mm.
is the stressful thing I'm worried that people will think I'm stupid? Those are two separate stresses that occur. And
Right.
maybe if we address one, we might be able to address a lot of other things. But I think we don't stay surface. I don't want to put it that way. But I
Right.
think we just, like I said earlier, we're not trained to see the roots of things sometimes. We're not trained in the deeper self reflection. That is not a critique on your self-worth or your knowledge or anything. It's just a lot of us never practice it.
Right.
And taking some of those moments, just even do the tiny things,
Right.
is worth it.
Right.
As someone who's tried to do that these last few months and is still learning and trying and all that stuff, I think even unlocking one root thing is worth your time.
Right. No, I totally appreciate that. I say that many times, that this self-discovery journey can be painful, difficult, stressful, beautiful, lovely, and all that, but it's all worth it. It's
Yeah.
all of it is worth it, because the more that we know of ourselves, the more that we can show up as ourselves, and the more that we make the difference in the world,
Yeah.
because that's why we're here. We're here. We're here. We are purpose, right? Uh,
Yeah.
we don't have to find purpose. We are purpose. The fact that we are breathing, there is purpose within that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. This has definitely been a blessing. I have your website up there. Is there anything that people can look for or find there, that, other than just a wonderful human being up to amazing things, right?
Yeah. So if you go to my website and such, hopefully by the time this is up, there'll be sections on like improv for wellness. And that's a lot of what I teach right now. And just been kind of learning ways to teach that over Zoom. And I feel like I found some really effective ways to do that. You can also go to my Instagram at Teague Parker. I post a lot of videos just on like 1 minute improv for wellness lessons and such
Mm.
like that, that are just trying to show like what happens when we're authentic, or if you're part of the creative community and such, taking a peek at what happens during the tougher times of being creative, and trying to build that awareness for all of us of like, oh, it is really hard embracing creativity. So
Right.
let's stop acting like it's not, and
Right.
kind of learn from each other. But
Yeah.
those are like the biggest things, I think.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, we typically say goodbyes within the green room. So if you're able to
Yeah.
stick around for a minute, and we'll say our goodbyes from there. This has been great.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, stress. Who knew that most of our stress is, well, this is what I'll speak for myself. So I don't want to minimize what you're dealing with or not dealing with, but most of my stress is something that I've created. That's something that I am not, that I have elevated to a level that has caused grief or caused, um, you know, um, a trauma in my life. And it's like the more that I see it as a choice, to see that there are things that are in my control, that I have a choice to the matter, that I can cause my life. I can reduce the stress. I can have those moments of really seeing who is showing up and who is available to live my life. I hope this conversation has brought value to you. If reaching out to me at imwilliambrown.com and having a complimentary coaching session would be appropriate, I invite you to do that. I desire to help you to be yourself and to live your life, because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of your day.